So, good evening, everybody, and welcome to our webinar, Happy Gut, Happy Hormones. And I'm delighted to see you all here. For those of you who don't know me, which I know there are one or two, I'm Jeanette Forder and I'm the owner of Phoenix Wellness Coaching. And I am a menopause life coach who works with individuals, both male and female, because we know that our menopause can impact those men and families and people around us. And I also use my 20 years of HR experience to support organizations. So I go into organizations and help them to understand why it's really important to look at supporting their individual staff members who are going through the menopause. Along my journey, I met the wonderful Cynthia Quiano. Give us a wave, Cyn. Cyn and I have known each other now for probably coming on for 4 years. We started off through our networking contacts, and Cynthia came in to one of my courses, one of my programs, when she thought she might have been going through perimenopause. So we know each other professionally and now very much as friends. And I love it when through my business, I meet people like Vicky, Karen, Kerry, and Cynthia, who I've met professionally, but then they become friends. That's the great joy for me. Cynthia is fantastic. She is a lady of many talents, I would say. Not only is she an excellent health and wellness coach, she is an independent consultant with Arbonne, which she will tell you more about later on in this program. So she has really helped me with some of my health situations, for lack of a better word, as we've got to know each other, and through their supplements has really made a massive difference. So we'll tell you more about that journey later. But Cynthia lives in London. Not only is she running her Arbonne business very successfully and has done for some time, she also has many other strings to her bow. She travels avidly, whether that is to Mexico or Iceland or long weekends in Luxembourg. She is always on the go, loves to travel with her husband and exploring new places. She is also an actor. She does voiceovers and various other acting assignments, as well as holding down, I think it is a full-time job, isn't it, Cynthia?
Yep.
Yep. So she is a communications specialist. So very much interested in change management and culture change and things like that. So again, with my HR background, we really hit it off. So Cynthia is going to take us through the presentation. I have made her co-host, so fingers crossed the tech works and she'll be able to share her slides, and she will share all of her wisdom around how to have a happy gut and happy hormones and why it's so important for us, not just as we go through menopause, but if we're younger and on that fertility journey, and obviously, like me, the beyond menopause stage. So over to you, Cynthia.
Great, everyone. As promised, here is my cat. So let, let me get the slides up. And I'll start with a quick introduction while that gets going. I press share, but it's very slow here. But yeah, so I'll start with a little introduction. I actually am not sure I know anyone on this call. I thought I might see some familiar faces, but I don't think the familiar faces are here. So my name is Cynthia. I am a wellness coach with Arbonne International. I absolutely love it. I've been doing my business for 10 years now. So that gives you a little bit of the longevity of this. Like I said, I absolutely love it. It's actually really helped me with my own health journey, and that's why I'm so really, really passionate about it. And okay, finally, yes, okay. I was waiting for like my controls to come up on this side. And actually, one of the biggest things for me is when I started my Arbonne business, it was basically I was looking for flexibility and choices. And what I found, yes, was that and a real passion for nutrition. My passion for nutrition probably came through my own transformation. So I don't know if anyone on here would have described themselves as a yo-yo dieter before, but that was definitely me. I tried everything under the sun to manage my weight because I think since puberty, it's been one of the things that's been like really on my mind. I've been slightly chubbier, I've been really light, and through my life, that's always been a thing. And my mom has been a really good help with that because she's always reminding me I am what I eat, which was not very nice when it was in the chubbier faces. But so through Arbonne, I kind of found the Thrive in 30 program, and that really started my journey in understanding one, my relationship with food, two, healing my relationship with food, and me realizing weight is just a number. And sometimes, yes, it can be a symptom, but it's not the end all of everything. Through it, I learned that healthy was not boring, which is a big thing for me as a very picky eater. And my transformation happened in 2015 to 2016, basically going around 12 kilos down and then keeping all those kilos off until my fertility journey. So for me, that was a really good thing because it was the one sustainable thing. But also because of that, once I started reaching one, perimenopause, and two, my fertility journey, one of the biggest questions I kept asking people was like, what can I do from a nutrition standpoint to support that journey? And actually, it's been really interesting because through that, I have really deep dived into gut health because that's like the number one thing. And from there, I've added a little bit. So I've done some stuff with, I've done some fertility nutrition courses. I've also worked with a fertility nutritionist. Like you heard, I work with Jeanette around perimenopause, and I recently worked with another nutritionist because I knew when I was working with Jeanette that I was in perimenopause, but now it's very, 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 very obvious that I'm in perimenopause. So that's kind of really helped me even deep dive a lot more and actually also validate that I actually know a lot more than what I sometimes think I know, because actually a lot of the stuff I see with these people are things that are actually all in in this workshop, but it's sometimes really good just to hear it from the other experts as well. So kind of the journey we're going to take you on today is talking a little bit in general why gut health is really important. Then we're going to talk about the hormone and gut connection. Then we're going to give you some tips. So whatever happens today, you go away and you can take something to implement now to support your gut. And then we'll talk about how we can help in your journey if you choose to. So why does gut health matter? Let's start kind of with some of the basics. Well, it is linked to quite a lot of things in our lives. So it really supports our mental health. Basically, about 70% of our serotonin is actually created within our gut, and our serotonin is one of our happy hormones. So obviously, if our gut's imbalanced, it can interfere with that, which again affects our mental health. It is really important for sleep. So again, another hormone attached to there is melatonin. And if our gut is not working well, it affects our sleep. And if we're not sleeping well, it affects our gut. So it's kind of a really round circle with that one. It contributes to our skin health. So usually when we do have a hormone imbalance, and if you think when you're a teenager, that's a really great way to think about it. All the acne, all those little signs are because like our hormones are really changing, they're unbalanced, and they affect our gut, and then that shows up in our lovely faces. It also supports our immune system. So a happy gut will be a really good guard to disease, infection, and everything else. So it's really key for immunity. The obvious one is digestion. Obviously, that's the first thing we think when we think about our gut and our gut health. And that you can usually see if it's a little bit off because we might be feeling slightly bloated. But in overall, it really does support our hormone balance. Now, when I talk about hormone balance, sometimes, especially as women, we immediately go just to thinking about our female hormones. So that's estrogen, progesterone. But when I'm talking about the importance of your gut health with hormones, I'm actually talking also about other ones like insulin, cortisol, melatonin, and way beyond that. So we have quite a lot of hormones in the human body. They're controlled by our gut and they're controlled by our thyroid. So those are two really important organs that we need to really, really take care of in our health journey. So what are some of the signs that maybe we have a hormone imbalance and our hormones are slightly out of whack? Well, it can be all the stuff to do with weight management. So maybe we're losing a lot of weight, maybe we're gaining a lot of weight, maybe we're having just struggling to manage our weight overall. It could be that our bowel changes. So maybe we are slightly constipated. So this could be from like just going to the loo once a day. And I do need to talk a little bit about poo, but it could be once a day is actually a little bit constipated to potentially not going once a day and actually being quite constipated. Mood changes, like I mentioned before, we do have like our serotonin being created in our gut. So actually, if that's not well balanced, mood changes is obviously a big thing. And I know from like a perimenopause thing and a post-menopause thing, that's like a biggie. We can look at things like stress. Stress is usually a sign that your hormones are slightly out of whack, and also a lot of other things, but we'll come back to stress later because that's a really important one. We might have struggled to really regulate a temperature. So that could be cold or hot sweats. So either of the sweats could be a good sign. Skin issues, like I mentioned before, hair loss, which is probably one that's not as obvious. Blood sugar imbalance, because like I mentioned, insulin is one of our big hormones there. And I'll explain a little bit more of that in a bit. And things like cholesterol imbalance that kind of feeds into that. Tiredness, brain fog, you name it. There's like, as you can see, a whole list of symptoms kind of trying our body's way of telling, hey, there's something wrong. You really, really need to look after me a little bit better. So gut health balance is making sure that what we have in our gut is balanced. It would make sense like that, but actually what happens in our gut is we have good bacteria and we have bad bacteria. And when we talk about balance, we're actually talking more of an imbalance. We're talking about we want the good bacteria to be a lot more than our bad bacteria in our gut. And our good bacteria are there because that's what really helps us break down food. It is what helps us kind of be able to absorb all the nutrients from the food that we're actually eating. So we really want to decrease kind of that bad bacteria living in our gut. But when there is an imbalance, that is when obviously we have more bad bacteria than good bacteria, things can get a little bit weird. So what also happens is when we have a lot of bad bacteria is that we decrease our fatty acids within our body. And if we have less fatty acids, that can really disrupt hormones. So fatty acids are really important for a lot of hormones, especially for like estrogen and insulin. So what it does is the fatty acids kind of like, create like a protective coat on our hormones, and they really help us break down things like estrogen. So if you're not having great insulin, it is possible that your blood sugar levels are going to be slightly elevated. And actually, as we go through life, depending on where you are in the stages of your life, in perimenopause and postmenopause, you can see that a lot more. So obviously, also we have a lot of more bad bacteria. We're actually increasing the toxins within our body, and it can cause other more serious things like leaky gut, IBS, all those not so great little things that have to do with like gut. And like I said, estrogen's actually broken down within our gut. So when there isn't a balance, we can actually create the opposite effect that we want, which is having an excess of estrogen in our body. Now you might say, oh, you know what? I'm in menopause. How can I have extra estrogen? I hardly have any. But when we talk about excess estrogen, there's still a good level that we want. We don't want it to like overpower any of our other hormones. So yes, we do want more estrogen, but we still want it to be kind of in that balanced state. Stress releases two big hormones. One of that is adrenaline, and the other one is cortisol. They're very useful if you're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger or if you're in a dangerous situation, but they're not very useful for normal life. And what happens is when we're releasing those hormones, our brain is going into fight or flight or freeze mode, right? So basically what it is, the signals it's giving the rest of your body is stop whatever you're doing. Right now, we just need to run. So it doesn't really focus on digestion, and all your energy just goes into that like survival mode. So it obviously leaves your rest of your body really vulnerable for a lot of other things, which, like I said, if you're in danger, that's great because you're actually really getting what you need. But if you're living in a very high stress life, it means you're living in that state for so long that you're actually not letting your body do what it really needs to do. So the other thing is when cortisol rises, it can help estrogen go down. So we can actually have the opposite that I just talked about of estrogen being really low, which can then lead to anxiety, and it obviously impacts then our digestion. The other thing with cortisol is that it affects our progesterone levels. So I want you to think if your body, like it has a lot of different highways, progesterone and cortisol use the same highway. So if all I'm getting is cortisol, there's nowhere for progesterone to go, and it remains really, really low, and which has a really big impact in your cycle. So if you're in perimenopause or you're trying to conceive, progesterone is one of those really key hormones for implantation. So it's one of those things you really, really don't want to be going down. And again, in postmenopause, we already have enough issues, so actually having that little fight in there is not great. So our gut really supports our whole endocrine system, and our endocrine system is the one that focuses on our hormones. So that is why it's so important and so interlinked to look after our gut to have a really good hormonal balance. So I'm going to call it enough of the doom and gloom, and let's start talking about like how we can help our gut health. It's actually a lot easier than what we think. And this is one of the things I really love, because I think as someone who is a picky eater, and I am very self-declared that, like, it is really important to understand what are some of the simple things that we can do to really help it. And there's just 3 simple steps. We want to remove and reduce inflammatory foods. We want to replenish our gut lining, and we want to repopulate our gut microbiome. So when we're talking about reducing anything that can be disruptive to your gut lining, we're talking about inflammatory foods, which are things like processed foods, gluten, dairy, especially because as we get older, we do lose that enzyme to digest it easily, artificial sweeteners, and refined sugars. And if you are thinking like I have a sweet tooth, I love things that are sweet, but there are a lot of ways to still have that. There's natural sugars in all fruits, and there's raw sugars, things like cane sugar, stevia, which are going to be a lot better for you. So number 2, we want to replenish and add things that are going to support our gut lining. So foods to consider are things like prebiotic foods. So I'm going to just move it to this one. So prebiotic foods, which really have rich fibers. So this can be things like leeks, onions, garlics, bananas, cacao, flax seeds, garlic, onion. All these foods are really high in prebiotics. And if you're wondering what a prebiotic is, I want you to think of all that good bacteria in your body. The prebiotics is what feed your good bacteria and let them thrive, basically. On top of that, you do also want to have some good probiotic foods. And probiotics are just good bacteria. It's just another name for good bacteria. So these are things that already come with good bacteria. So some of those fermented foods can be things like kombucha, sauerkraut, kefir, which is the one I've tried and really like. So I will vouch for kefir. It just tastes like a little bit of a soury yogurt. So it's all good. And you want to add things like antioxidants to your diet as well, because that'll really help everything. And the oxidative stress come really, really down. So think of antioxidants, think about the berry family, carrots, almonds, turmeric. And antioxidants will help you, oh my God, like the of inflammatory well, basically it gives you like, if you think about bloating, it'll help your bloat go down, but I can't think of that word right now. Basically the opposite. So number 3 is repopulating your gut microbiome. So we already talked a little bit about probiotic food, but this is also where supplements can really come to a rescue, because our foods are slightly depleted of the nutrients they used to have. So actually adding something on top is really, really good. If you're adding a probiotic that is not Arbonne, because I'm just gonna be really honest out there, I know not everyone wants to buy Arbonne, but if you are having one that's not Arbonne, please do make sure it's really high quality and that it's heat resistant. When I talk about heat resistant, it basically means that the probiotic you have will reach your gut, because just think it has to go through all that stomach acid. So it needs to be a heat resistant probiotic, which is one of the things just to look out for. And that kind of helps us close the gap, right? So those are kind of the 3 simple steps. But I am going to move on to lifestyle because one of the big things I think that I love to talk about is looking at it from that holistic approach. Because it's all good if you're looking after your food and what you're eating, but if your lifestyles are not to back it up, you'll still be having hormones like cortisol and adrenaline take over, and they're going to really disrupt the rest of the good things you're doing. So let's talk about sleep. We should all be getting anywhere from 8 hours to 12 hours of sleep. Sleep is like the way your body resets itself, creates new cells. It really helps it kind of just do its thing, and a lot of functions happen while we sleep. So we want to really give it at least those 8 hours to really redo everything it needs to redo. Reduce stress. My top 3 for stress reductions are meditation, gratitude journal, and actually as well just walking or dancing. Actually, if I dance like around with an idiot, like just for like 1 minute, that really helps me because it just makes me laugh. And as soon as that happens, that actually really reduces the cortisol in my body, which I actually needed before this call today. So it was very good just like being able to dance a little bit and move your body. Moving your body with a good walk, like a dance, is actually really good. And especially if you're starting to have that insulin resistance, you might actually want to even add something like a strength training in there to start really building that insulin sensitivity back into your body. So lifestyle, it's all around. If you can do all of this, you're in a really good way. Now, no one's really perfect. So what I say is you can live this lifestyle 80% of the time, then 20% of the time, go have your birthday cake, go have your chocolate. I think that's the biggest thing when I talk about relationship with food is knowing there's no good or bad foods. It's just starting to understand what fuels your body better and what takes care of your gut better. So how can we help? There's going to be 2 programs that Arbonne offer that I would be like my go-to when it talks about gut health. The top and number 1 that I always recommend is the Thrive in 30 program. This is for a whole lifestyle makeover, is the way I would probably call it. You get it's basically a 4-week program to get you into healthier habits that then you can sustain after the 30 days. There you get one-to-one coaching from me and Jeanette during that time. You get a global community, you get recipes and menus, and you get lifetime access to the Thrive in 30 app, which is kind of what you see in the video playing over there. This app comes with your guides. It comes with educational videos around why we're doing what we're doing throughout the programs, with like the science behind your body. Like me, that is where you'll find all that information. And you get things like exercise, mindset coaching on top of that in that app. There's quite a lot in there. This is just some testimonials. I won't read through it. That's my pictures in the middle of what I was talking about before, me 2014 and then me 2016, just so you can see the difference. But one of the biggest things I've heard lately was from one of my clients who said it really, really helped her just sleep better. So that for me was a big one because actually I know how much sleep is a lot, like really, really important. The other program we have is a 7-day fresh start. So if you're like thinking, wow, 30 days may be a lot, how can I get a little bit of a quick win? This is a really great program. It's based on intermittent fasting. And as someone who had resisted doing intermittent fasting a lot of my life, I actually did it back a couple of weeks ago, and I actually found it really interesting. So within intermittent fasting, this is a really safe way to do it. It is scientifically proven, and it has the products to really help you through your fast. Again, it's a 7-day. I'd say it's about a 2-week program because we start with kind of like preparing you for the fast and then supporting you through that fast. In that, you get a Facebook community group, and you get 2 free webinars kind of explaining all the science and why intermittent fasting could be useful, especially as a woman, and then what you would do like after the 7 days. Again, recipes and guides are delivered, and it really focuses both on your gut and your liver health. Obviously, with 7 days, you're not going to see like as jacked as result as with the 30 days, but you will see that bloat come down. Also, if you are in perimenopause and you have a really relative healthy life and you're just having that issue with nothing that you were doing before is working, this is really good because what it does, it really um, resets your system for it to kind of start reacting again. So it really focuses kind of on that metabolic health as well. As you can see, there are two like other ones there. I like showing my own personal pictures because I just think that way you can see some of it. But I know Jeanette did like a blog recently on why intermittent fasting is actually a good thing. So if you haven't read that, go have a read it.
I'm a massive fan of intermittent fasting, like yourself, Cynthia. Resisted it for years and thought, oh, it's all rubbish, it's all rubbish. But actually, the last month have been doing it religiously on a 10-14. So having a window, not eating for 10 hours, but having a window open for 10 hours when I'm able to eat, making sure I finish at that time, and then fasting for 14 hours overnight. And the most important thing there to remember is when you eat late at night and you go to bed, when you sleep, digestion stops because your brain goes into replenish, rehabilitate mode and is focusing on rebuilding, cleaning out the body, all those processes that happen when we sleep. So any food you've eaten later on will not get digested, and that ends up as fat round your middle. And we know at menopause, that piece around your middle gets bigger because of the way that we store fat. And when we have more fat stored, if we haven't got our gut microbiome right, we'll have an excess of estrogen. Estrogen then gets taken back up by the fat cells and held on to. And we know that if you have an excess of estrogen, it just grows on and on. It can actually exacerbate some of the hormonal related cancers, such as breast cancer. If you are overweight, you're storing more estrogen, you're more at risk of developing a breast cancer that is hormone related. So this is why all of this stuff all fits together. It's like a massive jigsaw puzzle. And intermittent fasting will help you to lose weight. And remember, if you can get rid of your stress, that will also help you to lose weight because cortisol causes you to put on weight again because it holds on to the energy. It doesn't want to let go of it because you've got to run away from your saber-toothed tiger. So this is why we're both passionate about gut health, hormone balance, and the intermittent fasting really makes a difference. I sleep better, I have more energy in the morning, and whilst the scales still say the same weight, my clothes are fitting better and feeling more comfortable. And that to me is much more important than the number on the scales. So I'll hand back to you, Cynthia. That's my little soapbox sale on why intermittent fasting is good.
As you can see there from the pictures, my big takeaway was like it was less inflammation and just better sleep. For me, those were like the two things I took away. Within that, like I said, it is safe. And one of the big things with intermittent fasting is a lot of people don't do it right. So these should be protocols that are seasonal. And yes, you can do it every month, like you can do like a week every month. But what I love is within those webinars, you learn what those better windows are if you do want to continue that way, or if you want to do it just seasonally, how that would be done. So that's really good because I think what I've seen in the past is people trying to do it like forever, and that is also not right. So what I love about this is actually that, and I think what I love about both programs is actually that education piece that comes with them. So just from pricing perspectives, we put everything in here that we think could help. So like the Full and Thrive in 30 program, like I said, that's a 4-week program. It retails at that price, but basically we'd help you get it at that $288.40 price. The 7-day fresh start is $104, so comparably, obviously the price difference there. You do get all those products that you see in there with them. And then if you're like, actually, you know what, I just want something that's going to create a really nice habit, something that I can stick to habitually, I would recommend the Green Gut Glow, which is the other option. It's not a program, but those 3 products, this one, are like a really game changer to have like on a daily basis. So those are kind of the way we would talk about them. The Green Gut Glow, just so you know, because obviously you talked a lot less about that, has your superfood greens, which adds that variety of veg into your diet that we all need. It has a skin elixir, which is the collagen booster that helps your own natural production of collagen. And it has the gut health microbiome support. So that's your prebiotics, probiotics, and digestive enzymes. And you just mix it up all in one drink. In my face, I have to do it in front of my face. There we go, in front of my face. And it tastes really nice when you add like a fish stick or a little bit of lime is the other one from all my clients. But yeah.
I don't know if any of you have followed some of my posts, because I did talk about this. The Green Gut Glow is one of the reasons why I've joined Cynthia and are now doing Transform Her Health. So actually working with Cynthia as an Arbonne independent consultant. So I started Green Gut Glow on and off about a year ago, but definitely every single day from the beginning of this year. And I did that because as I went through perimenopause and then into menopause and beyond, I struggled with digestion, struggled with bloating, particularly with acid reflux, which if any of you get that is horrible. It meant that I was actually not enjoying my food because I just couldn't eat anything without feeling sick and bloated and uncomfortable. And then I knew when I went to bed, I would be, rather nastily tasting it all again. And again, acid reflux is really bad because it burns the inner lining of your esophagus and creates issues. When I went to my GP, they were, it must be a hiatus hernia. Did some tests, couldn't find anything wrong, but put me on omeprazole tablets, which are an acid inhibitor. So it stops the body producing acid. Acid reflux is a problem because we don't produce enough acid to digest our food. So it's the food that's coming back. And I didn't want to take those tablets indefinitely because they can have lots of other issues. Whilst they stop the immediate problem, they can cause you to cause you to have pernicious anemia. Can't even get my words out. Pernicious anemia, which is a deficiency in B12, which is really common for women, and particularly through perimenopause and beyond. So I knew I didn't want to take those long term. I started taking the Green Gut Glow religiously every day. I also started my husband on it because through his work, where he was working shifts, his eating patterns and sleeping patterns were all over the place. His stress levels were through the roof, and he was really struggling with IBS. Really, it's been really unpleasant sometimes eating in our household, let me tell you that. But we both started taking this from the beginning of this year, and probably within 3 months, I started to not take my omeprazole tablets. My prescription ran out and I had forgotten to replace it because I hadn't had any reflux. And I now don't take them. I don't need to take them because I keep taking the Green Gut Glow every day. My husband, whilst his lifestyle has improved since taking early retirement, now has very limited instances of the IBS flare-ups. He used to have them 2-3 times a week, maybe more. He's only had, since the beginning of this year, probably 3 flare-ups since then. And all I can do, I know lifestyle has improved, sleep has improved, stress has gone down, he's exercising, but on top of eating well, we both take the Green Gut Glow, and it has made a massive difference. And that's one of those reasons why I said to Cynthia, I want to share this with everybody. It really has made a difference, and I will continue to take it. And also the skin elixir is really good. Within 30 days, my skin was so much less dry and flaky than it had been before. So that's not just a plug for it, but that's my story and why I wanted to do this.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you, Cynthia.
I'll stop sharing my screen so I can see your lovely faces or names.
We're going to go into some questions. So I'm going to actually stop the recording now, ladies. So if you want to ask questions that are personal, you can do so. So the recording won't have those. So bear with me 1 second.